friends, welcome to Creating with Jovi and welcome to Out with a Bang 26. I want to say excuse my background. Many of you know me and you know that we've just moved into this house and I am organizing this craft space. And by the time that you see this video, I have pre-recorded it. So by the time that you see it, hopefully this is looking a lot better. But I am doing some craft organization videos to bring you along for the ride. But this is not what this video is about. This is about this fun collaboration. This is hosted by Mandy from Sunflower&Doors and also Julie from Julie's Papercraft. All right, for this collaboration, there is a whole month of collaborators every single day of the month. And most days there's two. There are two printable kits. And we are to choose one of them or we can mix both of them. And there are prompts for every day of the month. We each got assigned a prompt that we're to use. Now I'm going to be sharing something twice this month, today and also on the 23rd. So I hope you will join me also on the 23rd. I wanted to let you know that the project that I'm creating for the 23rd video, it's a large project. And so I have two process videos and then I'm sharing the completed project on the 23rd. I will have Julie and Mandy's channels listed in my description box, as well as the printable kits and all of the information that you need to participate and come along with us. I will also have all of the collaborators in my description box as well, and please show them some crafty love. Friends, in today's video, we're going to be creating this beautiful masterpiece using an authentic vintage photo along with the printable kit. The printable kit that I used is by Julie's Papercraft and it is the Heirloom Sunflowers kit. Before we get started, I wanted to share with you some of the pages from the printable kit. This is a very, very large kit, so you will get plenty to work with. And I also wanted to mention that there are freebies. Let's get started on today's project. My prompt today is half an image. So what I've done is I've grabbed this authentic vintage image of this beautiful woman. I wonder if it was her senior portrait or something. Anyway, she's absolutely stunning. I've been wanting to use this for a while now. And so today is the perfect opportunity with the prompt half an image. So I'm going to share with you what I've done. First of all, I got my light table out. This illuminates, and I think it can, yes, there we go. And we're going to have it on full strength, I think. And then I also, just so you know, I copied the photo onto a piece of paper. Mostly I'm thinking so I can refer back to it, but it might be easier to use the photocopy to trace with. We're gonna experiment super quick. So there's the photocopy. We can see the image through it with the tracing paper. Now I've had some tracing paper in my stash. I don't even remember where I got it. I might have got it when I bought this actually. I haven't used it, but this is great. I can use it on this. Okay, I think it's more clear if we use the photo. So I'm gonna move the authentic picture over to the side. Now we're gonna use this for our project, okay? But to trace, we're gonna use the photo. Let me make sure the size is the same. I didn't even think about that. I wanna make sure the copy is the exact same. Okay, it looks perfect. Okay, so let's get this one out of the way. I need to draw a line right down the middle. All right, my friends, this photo is 8 inches wide. There's a little tiny ruler up at the top and down the side here. So we're gonna use that to mark this. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna flip it over just in case something is off. I'm just gonna flip it like this. I'm gonna mark the back and then I'll get the mark around the front. Hopefully we've got it straight. We'll find out, won't we? So I did that, now I'm gonna mark this edge. And now I can mark this here, okay? And we're gonna move this out of the way real quick. Pop this down on the desk. We're gonna go ahead and draw a line down the center here. So looking at the photo, I need to figure out which side I want to use the printable kit on. It'd be more of a challenge to do this side because I can't see like the details of her eyes and everything, but I mean, you know, whatever. I think we could get the job done. Let's keep the good side visible for a more striking finished product perhaps. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see, right, my friends? But let's just go ahead and draw our line right down the center there. So now on this one, I need to repeat that. And I'm thinking what I'm gonna do is, most of this is going to go in the trash, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut off the edge. Remember, this page is not for our finished product. This is just to use for tracing. So if I put this here and I line it up, let me get it lined up. All right, my friends, now we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing on this one. All right, now we can move our authentic photo out of the way. Let's take a quick look at it. Yeah, we're pretty close. I can tell that we're just a little bit off. I do not think it's gonna make a difference. So fingers crossed that I'm right about that. And I'm talking just a few centimeters up the top more than at the bottom. So I think we're just gonna go with it. Yeah, okay. So I'm just gonna rough cut this off. All right, my friends, I got that cut to size. I'm going to go ahead and move these up here and get them clipped on. I wanna hold the clip right here. Let's go ahead and get started with our tracing. That is the whole point of this, because we're going to use the tracing as a guide for when we start adding the actual images on here. And I'm going to look at this because this is not perfect. So I'm going to look at this. I have this handy so that I can do all the proper lines. There's a lot of shading in here. So is this on high? Jeez, there we go. There's a lot of shading, so I'm gonna have to wing some of it, right? All right, my friends, here's where it's at. I think I've sketched in enough details to go ahead and make this work. So we're gonna remove this from our light up table. We're gonna take this off, and this is what we've got. Well, hold on a second. And this is what we've got to use as a guide. So I can refer back to, because what's gonna happen is I'm gonna start to cover this, and then I won't be able to see the fine details. So between this and this, I hopefully have what I need. This is the first time I've done this before. The other thing I wanted to share with you is last night while I was sleeping, I was thinking about the stages in which we want to add the papers, right? So we know number one is going to be the background. Background is always first, right? And then number two should be the eyes. And then as we look at the pictures, we could see that number three would be the skin. Okay. And then after the skin would be the clothing. Okay. And then after the clothing would be like all the details, like would be eyebrows, lashes, hair, what else? Lips. That's probably about it. And so I think having that in mind is probably a good idea so that we can get things put on in the right order. So when we look at it, it looks like it should. Well, we'll see. I wanted to share with you the images that I've pulled and, well, printed, I should say, for this project and my second project. I'll have another project day coming up this month. I'm very excited that I get 2 days. That's just fantastic. So these are the ones that I have printed out for both projects. I can always go back and get more if I need them. But these are the ones I'm going to start with. It's a huge kit. It's like 73 pages. So that's going to be a lot of fun to work with. Okay, for background, I'm thinking I could use this. Let's definitely pull this aside. Not for background, but for later on embellishing this one as well. Let's take this one too, just in case. This one too. We have another background piece. Oh goody, we have more. There's a ton of them, so I'm only showing you a very small portion of them. Oh, this is great. Okay, so we have all of our background pieces. That's fantastic. All right, my friends, I have decided that I'm gonna go ahead and start with this one. And I'm thinking, you know what? Let's go ahead and get our little table back here real quick. Let's turn it on. And maybe I can actually trace out the background that I'm going to use right onto this thing, so when I cut it, you know, I'll have the exact shape. How does that sound? I mean, I think I'm liking that. I'll try to remember to put the link to this tracing board in the description box in case you are interested in it. All right, so our line is here, right? So we're going to just go ahead and draw the line there. And then we're just going to go ahead and, you know, we'll do like not perfect cuts. We don't need anything to be a straight line. Most of this is going to get covered. Well, I shouldn't say most of it, but a lot of it will get covered. And then if we look at the authentic picture here, we know that she's got a lapel. So let's go ahead and get our background here. Don't need to worry about the hair. The hair just about comes out like this, like that. So if we cut the background, where's my line? Let me grab my ruler here. And actually this is going to be all lapel, but there is background here. So we need to cut this like that. We don't need to cut this, but we need, yeah, no, we just need to cut this. There we go. And then we know we're going to go across here, right to here. So that's it. We've got it. Okay, that's our piece for the background. That's easy. All right, my friends, I grabbed a piece of old magazine page and I put it over the desk because the desk is brand new, as some of you would know. And so I don't want to ruin it, you know, yet anyway. So I am using my Aleene's tacky glue, and that's what I'm going to use to glue this piece of paper on. You're going to notice that on the left side there's a little bit of a like space that didn't get covered. That's okay, because we're just going to cut that to size when we're done. So I am not at all worried about that, because we'll just clean up the whole frame. Okay, second is going to be the eye. Now that is going to be a serious challenge, so we're just going to do the best that we can. It's a very tiny space, but I'm going to use this green. It's nice and vibrant, and I could use the green or I could use this super light blue. No. I'll use the green, but then I'll use the light. I might use a gel pen for like the iris, but or there's like the sparkle. There's like a little where the light is reflecting off of it. We need to make sure we get that in there. But let's, gosh, I wonder, you know, I'm struggling. Do I go with the lighter color to make sure that we see it all? Or do I go with the green because it's super vibrant? I don't know. I will take a little piece of both. How about that? Let's try them on for size. So I'm just going to cut a little piece out of this bluish grayish color. The green is definitely more vibrant. I'm probably going to lean into that. All right, so we've got the two. Oh man, the green is gonna look good. We have to. Okay, so now I just need to cut this to size. All right, my friends, I just wanted to share with you that I have now employed the drawing that I did earlier. So I went over the drawing with the pencil just to make that pupil a bit darker. And then I went ahead and put my little scrap of paper on it, and then I'm drawing that, and I'm going to cut that out, and that's going to be our eye. I feel like I need a smaller pair of scissors. Let's just see how this goes though. The top is a little bit flatter than the rest of it because of the eyelid That's why it's not a perfect circle. Just a little dab of glue is going to do the job. And I'm going to actually spread that around on my finger a little bit. Oh man, the whites of the eyes come first, actually. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this on top of this lighter color, right? And then we got to cut this to shape to be like the white of the eye. Alrighty, my friends, I traced out the shape and now I'm just going to cut that to size. All right, I'm checking the size out and I feel like it's just a little bit big. So I'm going to grab these scissors and I'm just going to tighten that up just a little bit. Just taking a few very small pieces off here and there. Pretty much where I traced it with the pencil, I think is all that needs to come off. All right, let's try that on for size now. I'm going to go with it. I can always shade it in if I need to. All right, I got a little dab of glue on the back, and we're just going to go ahead and pop this on here. Hopefully I got the shape good. We're committing to it though. There we go. Now we're going to go for the skin, and I think for the skin we're going to go ahead and use this page. I think it's absolutely perfect. So once again, I'm going to employ the light up tablet here. So for the skin, I am now going over these lines dark, you know, making them darker. And yeah, you know, I'm thinking what I'm going to need to do is cut out this whole piece like that, then come in with the details over top of it. I'm going to have to cut out the eye. Maybe I shouldn't have done the eye first. Interesting thoughts. Well, anyway, let's commit to it. So we're going to put this piece of paper right over top of this. And I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and use, let me move this down a little bit, this part of the paper that does not have the music. It has music on both sides, but the center is pretty clear. So let's go ahead and take advantage of that. Yeah, I like that. So we're going to cut right here. Alrighty, now my friends, I think I would like to challenge myself to put the skin over the eye. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and add our glue. Oops, I cannot I cannot put this on until I cut out the eye. Alright, so what was I to do? I'm sitting there, I had already glued it. So I went ahead, I had a piece of the tracing paper, and I went ahead and just glued it on that because it's pretty thin. And then we'll just cut it out again once we're ready. So now I need to go in and I need to cut out wherever it is that the eye is going to go. So we're going to grab this, we're going to put this back on the board, right? And we know that we need to trace that onto this. Hopefully I can see through it. Fingers crossed. We've really got to be sure that we get it in the correct place, right? But I think it's looking good. I think we've got it in the correct place. And then I can see the eye. I'm going to shift this just a little bit. Make sure this is on as high as it'll go. All right, and I'm just going to trace. All right, my friends. So I have not unpacked all of the things that I might use for this, such as my razor tool. But what I did find, I'm scoring it just a little bit with this pokey tool. Just going to go around and score it. Also, too, it can always be an issue when you're trying to cut if glue is not dry yet. And I have no idea if this glue is dry. So at any rate, I'm piercing it with the pokey tool. And now I did find this. It is a very fine razor. I'm going to try and see if this will cut through or not. I'm not pressing too hard because if the glue is not dry, it'll drag the paper, and I feel like I just saw it drag the paper a little bit. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just take a stab at the inside of it. There we go. I can get through there. And I'm going to go in with my smaller scissors. All right, so now I'm going to just take a minute to try to slowly, carefully cut this out. I got it cut, and now I'm going to go ahead and there's a little spot that's not perfect. Hold on one sec. I'm just going to snip that. Try to get it smooth. If I need sandpaper in there or something, I can always grab that, but I think I got it. And believe it or not, scoring it a little bit really did help with the cutting process. Okay, so now we're just going to try it on for size. Yeah, I think we're good. We are good. That's awesome. Okay, now we can go ahead and cut this off of this paper. We'll try to stay as close as we can. All right, it's cut out. Let's go ahead and try this on for size here. We're gonna scoot it up to the line. We are up to the line now. Now we're gonna bring it down to cover the eye there. I think we are good, my friends. We'll go ahead and get some glue on here and yeah, get that on. Okay, that's pretty cool. All right, it's looking different, my friends. I love it. I love it. I love stuff that's different. All right, my friends. Now, of course, there's shadows we need to add, but before we add shadows, do we add the lips or do we add the shadows first? Maybe we actually add the shadows. So here's our sort of our drawing, our sketch here. And we can see where the shadows are. And then of course we have this. And I could do two things. I could do the shadows with paper, or I could do the shadows with pencil, or chalk, or marker, if I was really daring. So let me put some thought into that. All right, my friends, so I'm thinking I might like to score where there are shadows. I don't even know if this is gonna work, but we're gonna experiment, we're gonna try. And those are the things we like to do together sometimes, is like, just try it out, see if we can get it to work. So we know we've got a jawline here. Oh, the thing is the shadow isn't coming up because we have several layers of paper, right? So if I can score the paper, I do feel that. So if I can just make some sort of mark on it, then we'll know that we're doing it right. And then also, let's look at this. Let's look at this and notice that this is very dark right here. So the chin line over into here is very dark. So let's just see what we can do. I'm gonna press all this. Is that? Yeah, interesting. Okay. And this whole cheek is dark. Like, see where I drew this? This is what's light, but the rest of it's dark. Can I feel that? I do feel it. Let me see if that's gonna work. Let me see if I can see it. Oh, barely. I do see it, but barely. I might have to wing it. Okay, let's try winging it. I don't think it's good enough of a mark to really, really help us. That's what I'm thinking. So we're just gonna use this photo and perhaps this one. And we are going to do our best. I grabbed my ink. I was thinking paint. I was thinking all kinds of different things, but I grabbed my ink. Black, oof, I'll only go in certain areas with black, but here's brown. So let's give this a try. All right, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna just go along the hairline. I haven't been able to create lately because I'm unpacking my house. So this is gonna kind of get me back into the flow a little bit while doing what needs to be done, but sort of in a scary way for me. Because you know, when you haven't created in a while, you get a little rusty. All right, so we've got this warmed up, got a little bit of shadow in there, and we know that we needed that. Now, when we look at this, gosh, there's a lot of shadows. Look at these lines. Even the line at the nose. let's go for it. All right, so what we're gonna do, part of me wants to cut this in half, but I'm gonna leave it whole. But what I am gonna do actually is cut this other edge off. It's not serving any purpose, but to be a little bit of a distraction actually. Okay, so here we go. Now we're gonna get this back over here so we can really have a look at this. And whew, yeah, we got eyebrow, which we can put on with paper. But you know what? Let's go ahead and mark some things. Let's get this situated for us. So we have our eye, right? We know that. And oh yeah, we have this big shadow right here. And then we have the nose. And let's look at her nose. So right here, there's just a little bit of this nostril right here. I think we might have got that right. And then we have the rest of the nose. So what happens is we've got this darkness here, and it sort of dips down. Let's dip down with it. And then it goes over here to the bridge of the nose. And actually, about, if we follow this up, we go over here, this is shaded, and it looks like all of this is shaded. A little bit of a lighter shade here, and then it goes up this bridge line like this, right? And then it goes over, kind of getting into the eyebrow here. Am I doing that too low? Let's bring that up a little bit. She's got perfect eyebrows, this lady. She's beautiful. I definitely want to do her justice. Okay, I think we got the idea. I might not have the nose perfect, but it's close. And then, well, close might be a strong word. We've got this whole, there's like this whole shadow like coming down her face from above the nostril. It's super dark right here, super dark. And then there's this like line. It's so, do you see this? It's so defined right here. So let's see if we can get that defined line, and it goes like, it goes all the way to the lip. So the lip, there's just a little bit of lip right here, and some here, something like that. And this, and then there's all these shadows under the lips. So like this is almost like black right here, you know? So there's all the shadows, and it kind of comes out here and meets this line, and then all of this in here is like super dark. So let's go ahead and grab our ink, and let's carefully, because I don't think we can erase this ink, let's carefully see what we can do here. I'm gonna get a little shadow here. Let me just get some right here on the tip. I'll work with the tip. That might make me a little more comfortable. Okay, I don't mind it. I mean, it's a pretty wide shadow, but there's a lot of shadow on this photo. Okay, that's coming together nice. Let's keep it on the tip here. This whole area is shadow under the lips. Actually, all of this is quite dark. We can be bold and go in here like this. Okay, all right, okay. And I definitely want some defining lines. I mean, this is all shadowy, but I don't want it to feel like, you know, there's no defining lines. So we got that, we got the nose, we got this line that sort of even covers the lips almost completely. Get this in there like this. And then the eye, my gosh, look, there's this. So when we look at the eye right here, we see that there's a shadow there. All right, my friends, I got the brown in. Now I am gonna go in with the black, but I wanna be super careful. I'm gonna just touch it right here on the tip, just a little bit. And I'll start up in a safe zone, so like right up here at the hair. That's pretty safe to just get, you know, even some of the ink off of the brush, you know, in case there's too much. You know how sometimes when you first put it down, it's like super dark. So we're just gonna do that, kind of feel it out, see if we like the way it's flowing and all of that. So we're gonna add some here because we know we're looking at this photo here, right? And we know that this is quite dark through here, so let's just go ahead and add some of that, especially on this far edge. So that's looking good. Let's add kind of a little definition for the chin, right? That kind of moves across here like this. I want to get that definition in there. And I'm not proficient enough at this sort of thing to do all of that with paper. You know, I feel more comfortable doing some of this with ink. Now the black is, you know, we got to be careful with it because it definitely is much darker. This is working nicely though. I like the way that this is working. Yeah, that's looking really cool. What do you think? I mean, I like it so far. So let's take a nice breather from that and we're gonna move on to the next thing. All right, next is going to be the clothing. We're gonna go back in, do lips and all that, but I think I wanna get the clothing on, which is just gonna be this piece right here. All right, so the question for me is pink or green? Let's take a look. We're gonna put these on top of each other and we're gonna put them down here. Okay, this has a little bit of pink in it and the clothing is gonna go here. So I'm thinking we're gonna go with the green. It'll tie in her eye and it'll be different than this. So let's go for that. All right, so once again, we're just gonna go ahead and outline the shirt. The hair's gonna go over the edge, so it doesn't really matter what we do here. I mean, it matters a little bit. And do it like this, and then the shirt needs to go over the neck, so we're gonna cut this way because it's gonna go under the jaw, but then we're gonna go ahead and just go over the skin a little bit like this. All right, my friends, I got the shirt put on. We're just gonna add a little shadow to that as well. Gonna go across the neckline here. Now when we look at this, we see that we can see much of the shirt, so there's not shadows everywhere. So let's go ahead and just try to be real careful about where we put the shadows. We know that there's some here, and then some comes in this way like this. And then there's a little up here. And then there's a little bit down here. Gonna come in with a little bit of teal. This paper is teal, just to add, I don't know, a little extra dimension. Friends, I need to add some eyelashes, and I thought I'd be adventurous and use the stitching here for the eyelashes. All right, my friends, now it is time for us to add the lips on this side. We're gonna use the same technique that we've been using all along. I'm gonna put this on my little light table that's right here. Actually, I need to go ahead and make these darker so that I can see them. I'll cut them this size, and then if we need to change it up, we will. Okay, I messed up a little bit on the lips because the glue was wet and I accidentally pulled some of the paper off, but it is what it is. We are moving forward. So far, ultimately, you know, I am happy with how this is coming along. So now it is time to put the hair on. All right, my friends, I have chosen this piece of paper to use for her hair. I'm deciding whether I am putting a plant pot on her head with this. You know, I'm gonna cut it out just to prep it. And then we maybe go around it with this, or maybe this one goes on top of those. No, these are gonna go on top of that. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and fussy cut these out, and then we'll start assembling the hair. Before I even glue it down, we'll just sort of lay it out, make sure that it looks good, and then we'll start gluing. I wanted to share with you guys that I use these decorative edge scissors. They have a zigzag on them, and I use these to cut out flowers because flowers have petals, and this just makes it so much easier. So I just kind of swiggle it around a little bit and get as close to the petal as I can. But then, like this one here, I can just go up and down as I'm pressing this, and it does a good job of making the work quick, but also giving it some detail. And then I will go in with my ink and do the edges, but look at that. And you saw how fast that was, isn't that great? Before I ink it up, I wanna check to see if I've got enough flowers for the page. So I wanna do the big ones sort of on the bottom. That's what we're trying to do now, is figure out where we want everything to go. I like that. I like that it's even coming over to that page just a little bit. This could go here just to cover. There's a spot here. Let me shift this here. No, let me shift it here. And we'll shift this here like that, but away from her eye. I want to be able to see her eye. And then we've got, so we definitely have enough. I wasn't sure. That's what honestly, that's what I wanted to check on, was did we have enough? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and ink these up. I'm gonna use brown. I don't have yellow, so I think brown is the way to go. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this process. I've enjoyed this process. It's the first time I've done this before. And before I do something new, I typically don't practice. I just like to do it and, you know, create a video, and I don't have time for practice, so I just like to jump in. But I think it worked out pretty nicely, and I'm happy with it. I wish I hadn't messed up the lips, but hopefully with all the other stuff going on, you know, they'll be fine. Oh, and then it won't be quite done once I get the flowers on. Then we're gonna have a look at it, and we're gonna say to ourselves, does it need any detail? Does it need any shine, any highlights? I was thinking, I had the idea to go in with foil and pop that on in some areas that might need like a strong highlight, like the pupil of her eye where the light is reflecting on it. I thought that could be cool to use some foil there. I'd have to get it just right. I want to be real precision about that so it didn't look weird like an alien or something. So once we get these done, we'll look at it overall and see if it needs highlights. All right, so just like when we were testing it, we're going to go ahead and add this big one first. All right, my friends, we got the hair on. Now we need to add a little bit of shadowing here as well. So we can see with this one, there's some shadowing underneath and then over here on the side and along this whole area. So we're doing the underneath right here. And then we're coming along the side right here. And this all has some, you know, shadows here. So let's just go over the edges. There is some light up in the top, we can see that. So I'll just leave that alone. Just come in on this part of it here. There, okay. Now let's have a look. Do we need any other shadows? I'm gonna add some here, there. And then do we need highlights? That's the question now. All right, my friends, real quick, I am gonna take this gold and maybe hit a few of the edges here, just cause I can, and it might look nice. I'm gonna add a little color and outline to the eye. I wanna be super careful because this is such a small space to work in right here, but I definitely wanna add a little something there. This could be a little bit more of a finer tip, but we're going with it. And then I'm gonna add just a little bit down here, and then a little bit up here at this lash line. This one's the top is much darker than the bottom. The light is actually hitting the bottom, so I'm just focusing more on the top one. And I'm gonna make it a little bit thicker, trying to be really careful not to overdo it. We could add a little shadow over here. I don't want to go in too dark. Let me test this on here. All right, this is a pretty fine point. We'll just add a little something, barely noticeable hopefully, but just enough, you know, just to add a little bit. We'll do the same here. Can do the same here. A little bit more right here. Color that in. Oh, how about on the eyebrow? A little definition. We added paper for the eyebrow, but it might be good to just add like a little definition. I don't know if that's bad or good. We'll just be whimsical about it and just wispy. And all right, I don't think that looks bad. It's a little bit more defined than I had in mind, but let me go over it with the brown ink, soften it up a little bit. There we go. I mean, I think it did. All right, what else, guys? What about a little defining line? Oh, this is the gold. I do not want to put a defining line in gold. Let's try the gray right here, just maybe the tiniest line. I'm like barely touching the paper. Oh yeah, I definitely can see that though. Okay, that's fun, that's fun. Friends, I kept trying to make my gel pen work, and I don't know why. I have the worst luck with gel pens. They never work for me. I don't know what the deal is. But what I do have is this pokey tool and some white paint. So I've put the pokey tool in the white paint, and I'm looking at this picture, and look at this bright white dot she's got right there from the camera lighting, or from the lighting in the room. So we have added that to our girl, and that I think is it. Let's have a look. Friends, I feel like this needs some stickles. It just needs a little bit of highlights here and there. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some in here. Not being too careful about it. I just really want it to brighten it up a little bit here on some of the petals and things. All right, my friends, let me hold these stickles up. I mean, to tell ya, I think that added so much. All right, my friends, so we started with a black and white photo. This is a copy of it. The authentic one is the one I used for the project. Drew a line down the center. I used my light up boards right here. This lights up, and we traced half of the image in order to follow our prompt. As I was cutting the printable kit papers that I had chosen to work with, we used this back on this board to cut out the proper shapes. Then we went ahead and glued them onto the photograph. I did a little bit of low lighting with ink and my brush, and I did a little bit of pencil work just with a plain pencil because I can't find I actually have like a chalky sort of pencil or a better pencil than that, but I have not unpacked that yet. And the final touch was to go in with some stickles, and I love it. I even added just a tiniest bit in her eye. I didn't want it to be overwhelming, but this is our finished project, my friends, and I'm absolutely in love with how it turned out. I'm going to put them side by side. This we used for reference for shading and all of that good stuff. But this is the project, and I hope you love it, and I really appreciate you being here with me today. I have another day that I'll be sharing a video in this wonderful collaboration. I hope you will join me for that. I have something exciting planned. I hope it turns out to plan, but you know, only one way to find out. Well, my friends, please check out all the collaborators. There's 1 or 2 every single day of the month. And also check out the hosts and the printable kits that are available. And just so that you know, there's freebies available too. Well, all right. Thanks for watching. See you soon.